Tonight was a fantastic opportunity for some of the youngsters to show us what they've got. And boy, was I impressed. It wasn't the biggest game of the season. It didn't really mean too much. But a 3-0 win away from home. And a lot of the academy players and some of the older, experienced players got some game time today. And I don't think, if I really think about it, I don't think anyone really played badly tonight, which is always a good thing. Everyone had a good game, and some players had a very good game. So today I'm not really going to talk much about the actual fixture itself. It wasn't anything amazing. It's not like a lose, we're out, win, we're through. It wasn't a big occasion, but what I will talk about is the future of Arsenal. The players that we've got that have come through the ranks and I think are future stars. Of course, it's easy to say someone looks good now, they're going to be a future star, and it turns out a lot of young players don't make it. Of course not, but excuse me, I think what we've got at Arsenal is a very good set of young players that link really well. You can tell they're really close friends. I just think they're going to be brilliant for us. I really do. So, let's talk about the lineup. I don't know what's up with my throat tonight. Petr Cech in goal. One of the most experienced players at the club, which is always a good thing. He was captain. He was barking the orders down the pitch, which is always nice to see. And Cech isn't a bad goalkeeper. And let's be honest, for a second backup goalkeeper for Europa League games, I mean, you couldn't ask for better, really, could you? Someone that experienced, and he's got great leadership qualities. We all know that. We had, this is where it gets a little bit funny, Lichtsteiner at right back. Then at centre-back, Jenkinson. Now, when I saw this, I thought, surely it's a typo. Surely this isn't actually happening. We've got so many other players that I think deserve a chance. Some of the younger players. We've got so many other players that are back from injury and need game time to get match fitness sharp. And Jenkinson. Really? But I must say, he wasn't that bad. And it's funny because I remember when Jenkinson was, let's say a couple of years ago, trying to break into the squad. I'm talking 5-6 years ago. This is way back when Jenkinson actually looked like a somewhat decent potential for the future. I remember thinking to myself, physically, he could do really well in midfield, and I'm thinking more central midfield, defensive midfielder. And I also thought to myself, why are we not trying him at centre-back? He is 6 foot plus. He's a bigger guy than most wing-backs. But never really saw him play there. We never really got to see how that would look. And tonight, he was playing obviously against a team that didn't really attack too often. He didn't really have to do much at all. But the bits that he did do, I thought were very, very impressive. I mean, what more can you say? If he does his job well, then that's worth saying. He did his job. He did his job. And Jenkinson at centre-back is something that I would really have to get used to. And it's certainly not something I'd like to see in the Premier League anytime soon. But in a game like this, in an FA Cup game, in the early rounds, in the Carabao Cup next season, whatever, because we're obviously not going to be playing Jenkinson in the quarter-final, semi-final, final, whatever, then maybe. But tonight, he wasn't that bad. And next to him was Holding at the start of the game. And Holding, we all know how good he's been this season. Again, very impressive tonight, but didn't really have much to do. And on the left, we have Maitland-Niles, one of the young players that I think is a future star for Arsenal. Playing at left-back again, though, it's a little bit disappointing. I would have liked to seen him moved into midfield today, because instead we had Elneny. Now, Elneny's a bit of an interesting subject because he's an experienced player when it comes to a lineup of youngsters like this. He's got World Cup experience now with Egypt. He's got Champions League experience. He's got Europa League experience, and he's of age. Let's say he's entering the prime of his career, you could say. But he didn't do anything special tonight, and I do often think to myself, what does he do? I don't know if that's out of order, if I'm just missing it, but Elneny doesn't seem to get the ball going forward or backwards. It's a sideways thing constantly, and I think he had an okay game tonight. I'm not so sure it was worth putting Elneny in there when maybe Maitland-Niles could have played there. But of course, the other issue was we didn't really have a left-back. So I understand the decision, and Elneny clearly was in there just for a bit of experience for the youngsters that were playing ahead of him and behind him. So I do get it. I just don't think I I don't think I like Elneny very much. I like him as a guy, and I'm sure he's a good friend of everyone at the club. You know, all his teammates like him. I'm sure that he fits in really well at the club, but I just don't think quality-wise, ability-wise, he doesn't really... I don't know. He's never really impressed me. I've got to be honest, but he wasn't an expensive signing. He's a good squad player. So, hey, what can you say? But next to him, we had Aaron Ramsey. Of course, a player that will be leaving at the end of the season. He will not be signing a new contract. Apparently, he wanted to. We didn't offer it. Fair enough. I think clearly he's not in favour under Emery, and I think Emery thinks we've got better options and better players ahead of him. Even Gaezie, for me, who was the other player that started, I would rather play Gaezie ahead of Ramsey, put it that way. But Ramsey, he did okay today. I thought that he had a solid game. He scored the penalty, which is always a good thing. You don't like to see missed penalties. And you can tell, though, that Ramsey's kind of done. You know, he's not as interested as he should be. And I get that. His mind is now, what am I doing next year? You know, I'm sure he'll want to go out with a bang with Arsenal and get some silverware this season. A Europa League win would be amazing. Top 4 in the Premier League would also be a great bonus. But realistically, it doesn't mean anything to him now because he's going to be moving, apparently, to Bayern Munich, which, good luck getting in that team. I just don't see that. But, yeah, next to Ramsey and Elneny was Guendouzi. And although I'm not going to include him in this youth academy, the youngsters of the academy, because we obviously signed him from someone else's academy and then their first team with Lorient, but he is one of our youngsters. And Guendouzi, he's a 19-year-old with the brain of a 28-year-old. He's just brilliant. I absolutely love the guy. And when he's playing next to Elneny, it's like twins. From a distance, I can only see the difference when I see their numbers. 29 and 4. That was the only way I could tell the difference. Their hair is so similar, but what's not similar is their ability. And for Guendouzi to be ahead of Ramsey and Elneny in tonight's lineup, I think he was so much better than both the other players. I think he's ahead of a lot of the deadwood at Arsenal, which says a lot. For a 19-year-old to come in from the second division in France to effectively breaking into the first team for Arsenal in the first few weeks of the season, he's been dislodged a little bit by good form of Granit Xhaka and Torreira. But Guendouzi is a future player for us, a future star, and I love the guy so much. Willick, as well, by the way, was really impressive. I liked him a lot. The thing with Willick is, where is his best position? I don't see it yet. I think he's being used as more of an attacking midfielder, but he does good defensive work as well. So I'm sure we'll work that out in the future, especially Emery. He'll know what he wants him to do. And then Smith Rowe and Nketiah. So Smith Rowe, unbelievable, should have had 2 goals tonight. The second goal he scored was ruled off for offside. It wasn't even him that was offside. Or it was a push, we don't really know. But it was a stupid decision. It was definitely a fine goal. And I feel sorry for him because he would have got 2 tonight. But his first goal, 11 minutes in? Brilliant composure. He looks to be a fantastic player for the future. Not just for Arsenal, but for England as well. And ahead of him, Nketiah, who I thought was absolutely brilliant tonight. He may not have scored. He may not have, done what you would like a striker to do, and that's put the ball in the back of the net. But the link-up play, the pace he's got, he's very intelligent. He knows where he needs to be. His dribbling is very good as well. The way he cuts inside, very impressed with Nketiah. He does look a lot like... I think when he's got the ball and when he's running off the ball, he reminds me of Ian Wright. He really does. And I grew up watching Ian Wright. I saw a lot of him when I was younger, and obviously today you see the highlights, and they're very similar height, very similar build. It's very interesting. So, Nketiah, I'm not saying he'll be as good as Ian Wright, but certainly that type of player, and he'll be very good for the future. The way I see it is we have 3 academy players going forward that are future stars. You've got on the right, Nelson, who's out on loan, doing great things in the Bundesliga for Hoffenheim, but Reiss Nelson is a future star. He will be a quality player. Nketiah up front, we've already seen glimpses of how good he can be. And then on the left, we've got Smith Rowe, who equally can play in midfield. But on the left, with him, Reiss on the right, and Nketiah up front, you've got a trio youth academy system there, and they will be brilliant. And then in midfield, we had a few other debutants. We had... I thought Willick was great, by the way, but Gilmour came on and did very well as well. Really liked the look of him. I'm trying to remember who else we saw today. We had Saka come on the left side. I don't know. He didn't get much of a chance to show what he's got, but he's another youngster that shows a bit of promise. I mean, if he's getting game time, then Emery clearly has seen something in training. We saw Medley in defence. He looked very composed, very, very nice indeed. 6'4", big guy, and I think again one for the future potentially. Plaguezuelo as well. We didn't see him tonight, but did very well in the last game, and I really like Plaguezuelo as well. So I'd like to see more of him. Mkhitaryan, by the way, was with the squad, but didn't get in the team today. Didn't play. Funny that, because you kind of saw this lineup, this squad that went out today as the players that probably won't feature at the weekend against Tottenham in the North London derby. The fact that Holding's gone, which is, I know he came off as a sub, but it's a little bit worrying. Is he not starting against Tottenham? Because I really think he should be. Mkhitaryan went, and I think that's a good thing because Mkhitaryan hasn't been great for us lately. But the fact that he hasn't played tonight probably means he will play against Tottenham, which is a little bit disappointing. I hope not, because I think we'll be better off without him. I'm glad that Ramsey played tonight because I don't want him playing against Tottenham. So there were a few players in there today that I'm sure were used because they won't be used at the weekend. But a little bit funny that Mkhitaryan's gone but hasn't played. So 3-0 on the night. The game was really entertaining. If you're an Arsenal fan, of course you're not going to really care if you're not an Arsenal fan. But to see the youth in action like they were tonight, they were really, really impressive. There's a few names that, I'm sure a lot of people won't recognise, but we'll have to remember now because they are showing exactly what they've got, and you will remember them in 5-6 years, their first games in the season, and you'll see how good they are then and think, yeah, they were always going to be great players. But there will be a few that don't make it. I'm not sure who those players will be, but the three I mentioned, Nelson, Smith Rowe, and Nketiah, they, I think, will make it. The least likely out of those three, though, I'd say is Nketiah. I'm on the fence. I think Smith Rowe's shown definite glimpses of being a future star, and of course Nelson, you've seen what he's been doing in Bundesliga, but Nketiah, I think, still shows great promise, and I think he will be a fantastic player for us. But that's going to round up this review. 3-0 on the night. We go into the last group game, not needing a win, a loss, whatever. It doesn't even matter. We can play the youngsters again. Cannot wait to see them in action once more. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.